garage at home. I've done 2 track days now, and the car's held up pretty well. There's a few issues that I need to just sort out. One of them being the engine oil pressure is a little bit low, but the reason for this is because when I built the engine, I just used the standard oil pump. On the Golf engine, I used a T6 pump, which is a larger capacity. But for this, I just thought at the time that the normal oil pump would be sufficient. But looking at the logs on the laptop, the oil pressure is dropping to 4 bar dead, which I'd prefer it if it was nearer 5 bar. So the solution is to put on the T6 pump. Unfortunately, they're about 300 to 400 quid. Again, this is why I didn't put it on in the first place. But on the Golf engine that's running 9,000 RPM, this particular oil pump, the T6 pump, is well man enough, and it'll keep the oil pressure absolutely perfect. So yeah, a couple of issues really on the last track day. The first track day went really well. The logs looked excellent, and there was no reason to change anything really. This second one, I can see the oil pressure is just a little bit down, but it's only down when I'm at big boost. So getting on for 2 bar boost or above, the oil pressure just seems to drop to 4 bar. But I mean, I assume the engine's consuming more oil pressure because the big ends are just squashing out the oil, and it's almost a replenishing issue rather than an actual issue. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the T6 oil pump on it. The other issue was the boost control was going a bit funny at the end of the session, but I'm almost certain that it's because the Garrett wastegate, I'm nearly certain of this, the diaphragm in it has started to split. So the requested boost and what it's actually doing is just slightly different. Well, it seems to sort of overboost on the gear change and then settle down, but the reason it settles down is because the max ECU is closed loop, and it will make corrections to make the boost correct. But it seems to me that the wastegate does have a split diaphragm. I mean, it may not be the wastegate's fault entirely, but I don't water cool the wastegate, which maybe I probably should. But the only reason for that is because the port for the wastegate cooling is just a little bit close to the manifold, so I couldn't put a coolant port into it. But I'll just have to find a way to do it really. But other than the wastegate control problems, like I say, at the very end of the last session where it ran out of fuel, before then it was working perfectly. The other problem was the intercooler fans. I don't know if you can see it. It's here somewhere. But the relay for the wastegate fans was not working properly. And for the first half of the day, I had no intercooler fans whatsoever. So the intake temperatures were probably 20 degrees above what they should have been. And the result of that was that this piece of plastic here was melting, which it hasn't done before. So I've kind of trimmed it on the day, But that got me thinking, well, I've not heard the intercooler fans all day. So when I actually checked it on the laptop, well, I can tell it to perform a test basically. But when I performed the test, there was no intercooler fans at all. So yeah, there was an issue with the relay for the intercooler fans. At the end of the day, I think you can see it there. Yeah. Well, what I did, pretty much bypassed the relay completely, and I just put the two terminals together, so the fans were on all the time. Obviously, they're not on all the time usually, but that pretty much got me through the last session. So yeah, moving forward, I'm going to put the T6 oil pump on it, and that will bump up the oil pressure quite a bit, because the Golf engine runs nearly 6 bar of oil pressure all the time, and it's not been an issue. So that's what I'm going to do, and I may change this to another type of relay, because well, this is actually the second type of relay that I've had on the car. The first type was a pulse width modulation relay, but that shortly just expired. I'm not sure why it expired, but it just did. So I put a mechanical relay on it, so it was on or off, and that's been alright for maybe a year, but it seems like it's just had enough now, because they are quite big fans and they run, well, they need a lot of amperage to work properly. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. Maybe some of the newer Volvos run a pulse width modulation relay, a solid state relay, and they're quite reliable, so I might just change over to one of those. They're not expensive, so I'll try one of those. But other than that, the car's been really good. It's performed really well. So yeah, I mean, I've got all winter to mess around with this to get it right. So yeah, come early next year, I'll get it sorted, and it'll be, well, I need to be pushing for some better lap times really, because well, the first time I went out on track, the car did all right, everything seemed happy, but the brake pads were overheating, so I changed to a Carbotech brake pad for this time, and they seem to have sorted all the problems. But there was a boost control issue. But yeah, I'll sort that for next time. Like I say, I've got all winter to mess around with it and make it perfect, because all I was running at this track day was about 0.9 bar of boost, with the overboost button on the steering wheel to bump it up to 2 bar. At 2 bar boost, it was just going mental, and you can see that in the video. But I just kind of need something in between for the rest of the lap, if that makes sense. And then yeah, I'll sort that out. Brakes are good, suspension feels pretty good. I just need to sort out these little issues that have appeared. That's part of testing. The first day's testing, I got no footage whatsoever because the GoPro just overheated, and I lost everything basically, which was a bit of a nightmare. But I'll add the first day's testing on this video, because there was some good outside footage, to be fair, but I didn't add it to YouTube because well, it was just a bit short, and there wasn't much going on really, and I thought I could do a lot better. So come the spring, I'll have everything sorted, I'll bump the boost up to a reasonable level, and then I'll also have the overboost button just like last time out, and well, we should be going much quicker, much quicker, because the car as a whole works really well, and it's quite neutral as well. Doesn't really oversteer, doesn't really understeer. When you press on a little bit too hard, it just sort of moves sideways rather than losing the back end, which these sort of cars are renowned for. But this one doesn't. So we'll see anyway. That's where I'm at, and I'll see you in the next one.